Okay, welcome back to Cool Virtualization Lab on laptop. In this part 2 we will demonstrate several new capabilities. We will deep dive into the cloud on a laptop system and find out later on how it works and what are the benefits and what are the caveats and so on. So let's go through the environment. The most important piece is the hard drive. So the hard drive is a Western Digital Elements, 1000 gigabyte capacity, and it is working on USB 3 connection. Here is the list of VMDK files that I'm using to run all the systems, all the VMs on my workstation. It is important to have this capability, this fast drive. Let's look at the speed that I just tested. Okay, so the solid state drive that I have internally in my laptop is pretty fast. This is the speed. It has 256 gigabyte. The external USB 3 one with a 1000 gigabyte capacity is pretty fast as well, and this will be the most important piece of the system in order to actually make it work. So back to the Ubuntu information. This is the system that we're using, 8 cores, 16 gig RAM, like you've seen in session number 1. Here is the resource allocation. Almost 75% of the memory is already allocated, and this is the allocation information from CPUs. About networking, you don't really need to plug even your laptop to a real Ethernet adapter. You can use the workstation Ethernet emulation called VMnet 8. In this case, I'm using 10.1.100 subnet to give several IPs to my VMs, the entire system that you will see in this session. And let's see what we have. So we have ES6 host running as a VM. This version 4.1. This guy is 112 at the end on the subnet. It needs only one CPU and 3 gig of memory is enough. Second VM is ES6 latest one. 4 gigabyte of RAM and one CPU is enough. This guy is running on 111 at the end on the subnet. We have vCenter VM. I think it needs only 2 gig. Yeah, during the installation of vCenter 5 you will require more memory, but later on you can trim it down. It doesn't really need all that much. And here is the vCenter controlling the entire system. This guy is 5 at the end on the subnet, and it controls the host that you've just seen. Okay, the ES64 host. You can see on the summary that it is running as a VM controlled from the vCenter. This is the 4 version. This is the 5. Okay. Both of those hosts have 2 virtual NICs in them because I gave each one of them 2 NICs. Of course, they're sitting on the same Ethernet emulation. You don't need even to plug your laptop. So yeah, both of those hosts have 2 virtual NICs. We have a virtual supervisor module running here as a VM. This guy is a Cisco Nexus 1000V virtual supervisor module. Latest version 1.5 actually, because this guy will have all the stuff about vxLAN tunnel that we will make between the ES6 host in order to send over UDP, the layer 2 VLANs and so on. Pretty fancy software based stuff. Then we have VPAT is there, VSG and stuff that we will see later on in session number 3. So this is the virtual supervisor module version, and this guy controls 2 modules. virtual Ethernet module installed on host ES6.5 and on host ES6.4.1. Here is the IP address of those two hosts, and the Nexus 1000V controls those hosts. Of course, it only runs on the same Ethernet emulation VMnet 8. What you need, by the way, is also to allow those the VMnet allow root access, because you need to make sure the network is running in promiscuous mode in order to allow VLANs between those hosts. Yeah, it's totally possible on workstation in promiscuous mode and not even needing to connect the laptop anywhere. VLAN will still fly between those hosts. Okay. So from networking perspective on vCenter VM, the host has two VNIC. The first one is controlled by by VMware on vSwitch. This guy is 111. Here on the second one, again, VMware vSwitch on the first VNIC, 112 at the end. And the Nexus 1000V is controlling the second VNIC over here. Okay, so this VNIC on ES6.4.1 version, see when you click CDP, it see actually that it is connected to someplace else with module number 3, and ES6.5 on the secondary VNIC controlled by Nexus 1000V, see that it is connected to module number 4. It is synchronized with the fact that you see the modules over here, module 4 and module 3. You will see that those interfaces 3/2 and 4/2 is actually the app links that are available on those hosts, and they will send the traffic. We will see all kind of networks and how we penetrate and how we communicate between them. Another VM that is running is vCloud Director. It is a Linux machine, this kernel. The vCloud Director services is running. It's a portal with some sophisticated hooks into vCenter. It has an Oracle 11G database, and it is using this IP address 11 at the end on our subnet. Okay. This guy also doesn't need to have a lot of RAM. 3 gig is enough. Okay. From the vCenter host, we also control the vCloud Director VM over here. Okay, so we're using 11 at the end, and we can browse through the system. We can see that it is controlling this vCenter. Okay, that is actually the vCenter that is running on the host that we are sitting here, version number 5. It has also vshield manager. vshield manager is basically running as a VM over here. You see vshield manager with 1.2 at the end, and this guy is actually running inside ES6 version 5. This guy that is running as a VM on my workstation. Okay, so inside this guy 5 here, you have vshield manager running, and the vCloud Director controls the vCenter here and the vshield manager that is running as a VM. It can see the hosts, the two hosts from vCloud Director. The data store are just the VMDK file sitting on my external USB hard drive. Switching, so the vCloud Director see Nexus 1000V 1.5 version, 1.4a we use for making sure we know the differences between capabilities in one version and the other, and it also controls the VMware on vSwitch if needed. And later on we will define networks, and we will see how those networks are attached to VDCs and how they are used and so on. We also have a Mac OS VM over here. I'm using this one just to use some networking utilities that I love on Mac. Also looks nice that we were able to run the macOS 10.7 codename Lion on a VM. We tweak it quite a bit to think that it has a lot of memory slots and one is used and a whole bunch of stuff. I'm using also Safari browser on the Mac to communicate with the vshield manager VM that is running inside, like I showed you before, inside ES6 number 5. And this vshield manager is managed by a browser. Here we can see that the vshield manager system is configured for what we call vxLAN. Several segment IDs are defined, some multicast IP addresses to create the tunnel between the ES6 host that we'll use later on. The vshield manager is also managing the Nexus 1000V using this URL, this API. How it will work is that vcloud director here, when we create networks, it will communicate with vshield manager. vshield manager will then create networks on Nexus 1000V or port profile. Those will be shown on the networking piece of vCenter over here under Nexus 1000V 1.5. Here we will see new port profiles created, automated from vshield manager. Then we will see VMs getting created and placed on those networks, and also we will see vshield edge VMs services created on the fly by vshield manager in order to make some routing or NATing and DHCP services or any gateway services in this end-to-end software environment. Okay, so we will see the entire capability of the system and several caveats and backdoors available in this system in session number 3. Thank you guys. See you in the next session.